Thus Always to Tyrants, by Therese, read by T.K. Wilson. Megan Meridian looked at her father, Alias, stoically making his way through New York City traffic. The car was silent but for the engine noise and the barely audible prayer of their passenger. Megan turned slightly in her seat to observe Finn Clanless, the boy she called brother, praying his rosary. Silky strands of long, towhead blonde hair obscured his handsome face and contrasted starkly with his black goth-style clothing, a bit more conservative than what he usually had on. Megan watched his fingers slide over the beads, counting with him, knowing the prayers almost as well as Finn, though she was Anglican and didn't use that type of rosary. The car turned the last corner as the walls of the Metropolitan Correctional Center came into view, drab brown and imposing. Megan couldn't help but think of Barad-dûr, the Tower of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings, especially as she considered the evil held within it. Coming to a stop. "Finn?" she said quietly. He looked up. "We're here." Finn sighed and set his beads aside. He emptied his pockets of his cell phone and anything else he thought might be a problem. "Are you ready?" "No," he said. His voice held a bit of an Irish burr. "We're right here waiting when you come out," she assured him. Finn nodded. As he exited the car, Megan rolled down her window and grabbed his hand. "We're right here." Not much good it would do inside that place. Finn Clanless thought about the errand that had brought him to this place. His father, Oran Clanless, had requested to see him. Oran was here on charges of racketeering, money laundering, drug smuggling, and murder. He had been the head of an Irish mob family before he was put away here, a family he expected Finn to take over. Finn refused, and for that he was punished. His body and spirit broken, and his mother murdered. He truly was clanless now, if not for the Meridians and the Stransburys. He smiled, thinking of his girlfriend Seraphina Stransbury, and her brother Fred, orphans like himself. He was carrying one of Seraphina's handkerchiefs against his heart, folded between the wraparound top and tank he was wearing. In the 7 years that had passed since the day he had refused his father's demands, he had grown strong in body and mind, taking up martial arts and getting counseling from his priest. His classmates at his martial arts school all supported him as well, though they did love to make jokes about his hair, calling him Legolas and Witcher. It was all in good fun. His classmates had cheered him on in his last tournament by singing "Toss a Coin to Your Witcher" from the sidelines. Finn had never seen the show, was far too, much for him, but he appreciated the spirit of his friends. Finn passed the door in the metal detector. His heart pounded like it was trying to escape from his ribs. His hands started shaking. He approached the officer on duty. "Finn Clanless to see Oran Clanless." The guard nodded and gestured for Finn to follow him. He was taken to a room to be searched, answering every question with a polite "yes, sir," or "no, sir." He opened his shirt and surrendered the handkerchief. "Belong to someone special?" asked the officer. "Yes, my girlfriend." The officer smiled. It was rare to see such an old-fashioned gentleman. Then he noticed a leather cross and an image of St. Michael the Archangel sewed inside the wide hem of his shirt. After checking to see if there was anything behind them, he asked, "If I may, where'd you get the tags?" "A friend makes them. I'll get you a business card if you would like." "I would. Thank you, Mr. Clanless." Finn opened his wallet and handed the officer the card. Then he followed the officer to the visiting area. It was empty except for the guards. For that Finn was thankful. He heard the clang of metal doors beyond the plexiglass partition and saw 2 guards leading his father, Oran Clanless, to the booth, shackled hand and foot. He hadn't changed a bit in the 7 years since the trial that had put him here. He, like Finn, was of a thin build, his cheekbones sticking out razor-like from his face. He tried to give Finn a friendly smile, but he came across more like a wolf. Oran sat down and picked up the telephone. Finn sat down in the chair on his side of the partition and picked up the phone on his end. "Finn? Father?" They stared at each other for a moment. Oran's keen eye noticed Finn's muscular frame and long hair. The boy had always favored long hair. "You have grown." "It's been 7 years, Father." Finn's voice was quiet. "Of course I've changed." "Fair enough, and your hair. It's grown quite long, just like the heroes in those books you used to like to read. The men in the books were better than the ones I was surrounded with. Finn raised his head. I told you I didn't want to see you again. And yet here you are. I told you I hated you. You did. Finn leaned closer. We are not men to mix words, father. Why did you call me here? Why did you come? Oran asked. Finn took a deep breath. Closure. I no longer hate you, father. I've been speaking with my priest. Oran nodded. He believed that religion was useful to a point. And what about the others, the rest of your family? I have forgiven them, but I will not go back. Finn, they're your family, your blood, Oran insisted. They need someone to lead them. I told you when I was 18 I didn't want to be in charge of the family, and I haven't changed my mind about that. You're my son, Oran barked. You killed my mother! Finn sat back away from the window. All the old feelings of anger and grief and hopelessness welled up in his chest. You had her shot and left her to die outside a church. Oran sat expressionless, watching as Finn fought back tears. It was necessary. Necessary? Finn rasped. It was necessary to kill your wife, the mother of your child? What purpose did it serve? You were already going to prison for life. Oran leaned close to the glass. I loved your mother. I loved you. You had an odd way of showing it, letting my cousins torment me and screaming at mother. It was to make you strong. You were never going to survive if you just sat there and kept to your books. Look at me, father. You were wrong. Oran was not a man used to being told no or you're wrong. His body language shifted, becoming more hostile. This was something Finn recognized. The man behind the glass drew himself up, trying to intimidate. A sure sign he was going to try to justify whatever he was going to say. I loved your mother. You don't know how difficult it was to order her death. You don't know what love means. Finn looked at his father. You sound so cold, like she was never real. 5 minutes, said the guard. Oran nodded. Finn felt relief this would end soon. I'm dying, Finn, Oran said matter-of-factly. Finn looked up sharply. Brain tumor. There's nothing that can be done. So that's it, Finn sighed. What do you want from me? Absolution? Only God can do that. Pity? You've had that for years. To make sure you took your proper place. Someone has to take charge of the family or it will die. Let it die, then. I swear to you I will never go back. Finn turned his father's body language back on him. Oran seemed to sense Finn's determination. There is one last thing I want to say. Oran raised an eyebrow. I forgive you. Finn hung up the phone and turned to the guard. I'm finished, sir. Oran stared after his son. You forgive me? He shouted. You are your mother's son. You're no blood of mine. You're soft and weak. Finn squared his shoulders and lifted his head. His burden was gone. Finn returned to the car to find Alias and Megan waiting for him outside it. Megan held out her arms for him. He accepted her embrace and went to the back seat of the car and got in. Do you want to talk about it, son? Asked Alias. No, not now. Finn leaned against his seat like a broken puppet. We'll take you home, then. The car ride ended at a restored Victorian home, the boarding house Finn called home. He came into the house with Alias and Megan and breathed in the comforting smell of his home. He looked expectantly into the parlor and saw Serafina sitting on the sofa. She had her black hair up in little buns, and wore black leggings, a baggy black top with a sprinkling of metallic pink and purple hearts across it, and a choker with a silver heart pendant. Hanging lower on her neck was a silver medal of Raphael the Archangel, a gift from Finn. She rushed over to him and hugged him tight. Are you okay? She asked. He shook his head. What did he do to you? Gave me what I asked for. You get cleaned up. Hey, Fred! Serafina called. Hey-o! Came Fred's breezy answer. Put some tea on, will you? You got it. Finn made his way up the stairs into his room. Serafina took Megan's hand and pulled her into the parlor. May, he'll tell you things he won't tell me. What happened there? Your guess is as good as mine, Megan sighed. He was so quiet I thought he fell asleep in the car. Fred came out with the tea service and set it down. No pair of siblings looked more different. Fred liked to dress in an almost garish assortment of bright colors, as opposed to Seraphina's goth style. Is there anything I can do, May? Perhaps if you have any of those cookies he likes. May's right, he won't want to eat unless we offer him something he can't resist, Seraphina added. I'll get the potato soup started and I'll text Miss Lucy to bring home some crusty bread. Great idea, nodded Seraphina. She looked up, hearing someone on the stairs. Ooh, quiet, here he comes. Finn had changed his clothes and was now wearing something more expected of him. A black poet shirt, black canvas pants, black leather slippers. Megan waved him inside. We've made tea. Would you like some? Finn nodded and sat down next to Seraphina and accepted a cup of tea. He swallowed the hot liquid with a sigh. It relaxed him a bit, but he still felt stressed to the max. Seraphina put a hand on his arm, distracting him from the turmoil roiling in his chest. Talk to us, Finn, she pleaded. He looked first at Megan, then at Seraphina. He's dying. That's why he wanted to see me. Oh, Finn, gasped Megan. Don't tell me you wanted a kidney or something, Seraphina said darkly. No, it's a brain tumor. There's nothing that can be done. He wanted to convince me to go back to the family. You didn't agree, did you? No, Megan, I would never go back to them, not even if I needed a kidney myself. Finn took a few more strengthening sips of tea before he continued. I told him I forgave him. Good for you, Finn, Seraphina cheered. I knew you had it in you. Megan nodded her approval. Finn finished his tea and set down his cup. He was less than gracious. He's disowned me once for all, I fear. I'll likely never see him again. Finn took a hard grip on each chair arm. For all that, he is my father. I shouldn't want his approval any more, not after what he did. You don't want his approval, said Megan. You want his love. All children want their parents to love them, and that want never goes away, not even when you're grown. Seraphina remarked as she swept Finn's hair out of the way so she could see his face. Then she placed a hand over Finn's. He was shaking badly. He released his arm and meshed his fingers with Seraphina's, a gesture that was second nature to him. Why don't I pop to the kitchen and see if I can find any cookies or something? Offered Megan. This was simply an excuse to leave Finn and Seraphina alone for a while, and when no one objected, she made her exit. Seraphina put her free arm around Finn's shoulders. He released her hand and pivoted to hug her properly. I'm so thankful for you and Fred and Miss Lucy taking me in, he murmured. I don't know what I would have done otherwise. You're a smart guy, Finn. You would have done something. Something foolish. He knew in his heart of hearts he would have tried to go after Oran for revenge. Finding the Stransburys was the one way he stopped himself. They showed him a better way than revenge, the law of love his mother taught him. My angel would have been very stupid. Seraphina hugged him tighter. Yeah, that's probably true. Such confidence in me, Finn teased. You then? No, zero confidence. You now? Every confidence. Finn bent down to kiss her forehead, but froze. Oh dear, came Megan's voice. I think I've come at a bad time. Finn let go of Seraphina and looked at the floor, embarrassed. Seraphina shuffled her feet and blushed. Should I go back out for a moment, or... No, you're fine. Seraphina grinned sheepishly. You look a bit pale, Finn. Maybe you should eat something. Finn looked like he was going to refuse until he noticed Megan offering a tin of oatmeal scotchies. He smirked. You two spoil me, he said, taking a cookie. Of course we do. Megan poured Finn another cup of tea. She raised her cup. In your forgiveness, you brought an end to Oran's hold on you. This is a day for celebration. Seraphina lifted her cup. Absolutely. You're free, Finn. You're done with Oran and his ilk. Finn picked up his cup. Now we are all free. The free tapped their cups together in a toast. To freedom!